obsessed with Superman.
Where's
To
where's
catch
my
him.
where's my dinner, Lois? Anyway, okay, let's.
Yeah.
I don't think Superman treats her like that, but maybe I don't know. If you like it, I
Who
love it.
knows?
Real quick, moving on to the last part of it. I'm gonna run down the we got your mail version of it because we've already gone an hour. Guys, so like normal, if you guys send us any questions, comments, concerns, sometimes we might use it on an episode of We Got Your Mail. So that's what we're gonna do real quick. So let me throw this in there. So from Red Scorpion says, so I asked, what film will you be watching this week in theaters? Red Scorpion says, maybe the mini sites of Newark on HBO Max. Not really going to theaters this year since movies are on HBO Max and COVID is still around.
See, we
what do you think?
talked about that.
All right, movie theaters versus? I've been going to the movies a little bit more lately. HBO Max. This whole thing with HBO Max and some of their movies coming to. I promised you that I would watch Dune in theaters, and I will keep that promise. And here's something interesting.
You have to.
Here's something interesting about Dune. At that time when we had that conversation, I hadn't even watched the trailer or anything. I've never watched anything of Dune. I've never watched the old original movie, never read the books, and I never watched the new trailer. But the other day when I was at the theaters, they played the trailer. And I got to see that trailer on the screen. And the second I saw it, I was like, holy ish. I said, I am definitely going to watch this on the screen.
I'm right.
But maybe, but prepare to be disappointed. Just like with James Bond, the fact that it's simultaneously being streamed, it's not doing them any favors. If this was exclusively in the theaters, I think HBO Max should have broke their promise for at least this movie, because you can tell it's so expensive, so epic, and because people have a different mentality, especially the new generation, when they know that the movie is sitting at home waiting for them to just stream anytime.
Hey,
I'm
right there.
They're gonna wait, and they're not gonna watch it when it first debuts. They're gonna be like, I can catch it next week or whatever. But when it's only in theaters, it's like, I got to get out there and watch it on Friday before I get spoiled or something. It's just a different mentality. So I think
like we talked about before, they have to come with a different matrix for success, because they can't solely base the movie's success on opening weekend or how it does in the first 30 days or whatever. Because people are watching it at home. So they can't say a movie didn't do well. So there's going to have to be a different mentality put out in the world.
They can, if they spent X amount of money and the streaming didn't cover it. they can say the movie didn't do well.
Well, then that's their own damn fault. It's their fault for setting it up to not make as much money. So they have to figure out a different way to do it.
They will. They'll spend less money on movies, and the epic in-game quality, Doom quality type movies will be far in between, because it won't make sense to. But that's what you get when you only want them to come to your house. No, get off your butts and go to theaters, guys, because that's the only way we're gonna get big Doom.
It's nice to put on real pants every once in a while and go outside.
You know what? Maybe next week I've been thinking about this as a topic. Maybe you can help me with this. Dating. Okay. Going out on a movie date is different than asking. You ask a lady out, let's go out to a movie. She wants. Okay, it's a date. You go out and you go see the movie. But when you ask a woman to go out on a movie date that's at your house on Netflix, this whole concept of Netflix and chill, it's a whole different thing, guys.
Yeah.
God, go back to the theaters. If you like, all these girls ain't gonna want to go to your house.
Yeah, but I mean, you go to a movie, it has to be like several dates in, because you're not talking, you're watching the movie.
Yeah.
So asking her to go to the movies with you is more of a get to know you activity. I enjoy being around you, versus, hey, you can come over, I'm gonna order pizza and we're gonna watch Netflix.
Yeah,
that's a different sort of invitation. That's a different sort of invitation.
Sex flicks is what you really mean.
Yeah.
Like how long in this movie till I'm just saying.
All right, I'm so tired.
Like I wish I could magically have my hand move over to Sarah's screen. Like, and then she's like, get off me. All right, moving on to the next question, guys. From Paul Shockley, he says, I think that since they are working together, I forgot what the topic was. Marvel. I think that since they are working together, Marvel is letting Sony be part of the MCU, but not part of the MCU. Part of the MCU, but not part of the MCU. LOL. If you know what I mean. No, I don't. Sony can have Spider-Man fight their characters on the side of the wider MCU. If Venom does fight Spider-Man in the MCU, hopefully that is in Spider-Man 4. A rumor of a potential new trilogy between the studios. Marvel Studios would have a soft reboot of Venom, not acknowledge those Venom movies. But when Venom 3 comes out, Sony can make some acknowledgement to the MCU. That's my guess, as Marvel Studios likes to make their stories perfect and all go together. I mean, that's I kind of understand it, but yeah, I agree. I don't. They've already shown us
contractually, Sony owns Venom,
right? Because it's linked to Spider-Man.
They paid mucho dinero to get Spider-Man into this latest film for that short little bit that he was in.
Yeah,
they paid a lot of money to be able to borrow that character.
Right.
Sony owns Venom. Marvel doesn't want Venom back.
Right.
It's fine.
Exactly.
Let them have
it. It's great. It would be great if they can, and if there's a way to use it. If Kevin Feige can find a way to use, I mean, spoiler alert, guys. For those of you who have not seen Venom, spoiler alert. I mean, you know that it's all, for a temporary moment, it's all going to come together. But it's obviously because,
but not with the MCU universe and the direction it's going.
Exactly, not for the future. This is a layup.
They Spider-Man put his toe in the water. He's back in his normal trajectory.
We've got something that Sony has never had before. We've got a foundation of some movies that have built this epic foundation. He's been featured in like Avengers movies. He's been in his own solo movies. You've seen Tom Holland as Spider-Man technically more than you've seen any other actor. Even Tobey Maguire. You've seen him a lot. He's put in a lot of hours as Spider-Man. So now that's been done, they are now moving in the direction of this whole. They've now built are building a pretty good Spider-Verse with the Morbius movie coming out, with Venom being a success. There's
they probably don't need Venom in it.
They don't need MCU doesn't need MCU. I mean, no, Sony can now take Spider-Man back for the long term and not be associated with MCU in the future. Maybe and when that day comes, when they close the door from MCU and Sony, maybe in the future there'll be a couple of references here. I'm pretty sure Tobey will still say, "I miss Mr. Stark" or something a little cute like that. Mm-hmm. But and maybe they'll acknowledge Spider-Man a little here and there to let you know that maybe in another epic Avengers type movie that he can come back. But this is all just a
no, Spider-Man is going to be in the future of the MCU universe. So the Sony universe. Wait,
is that what you think? You think Spider-Man is going to still continue to be in the MCU after all this?
Yes.
No, they are closing that door. They are setting the ground.
Have they sold the Spider-Man rights to Sony?
No. That's what I'm talking about. No, I'm talking about because of last year.
Do you think Tom Holland's contract's up and they're done with Spider-Man?
Remember when they announced a year or two ago that MCU and Sony weren't going to do any movies together, and everybody was pissed off about it.
But Sony doesn't own Spider-Man. Disney owns Spider-Man.
No, Sony owns Spider-Man. No, Disney owns Spider-Man. Sony owns the rights.
Owns Venom.
Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man films. Sony owns Spider-Man films.
I'm doing it right now.
For example,
who owns?
Disney and Marvel still own Spider-Man, but Sony owns the rights to make a Spider-Man movie. And Venom is related to that, so that's why. So if there's a movie to be made, that's why Sony is the producer, 100%. Disney and Sony have decided they made a deal to come together to merge Spider-Man into the MCU, but this was always a temporary thing. And Sony and Disney announced that they weren't going to be making movies together anymore. Fans got upset, and then they decided to re-up their agreement and extend it for a little while longer, which is why we're getting Spider-Man 3. But after this, I'm thinking after Spider-Man 3, that's it. Tom Holland is going to get sucked into the Venom universe, or this, which is technically the Spider-Man universe, Sony Spider-Man universe. And the door is going to close. He's no longer going to be linked to the MCU anymore. And maybe in the future, they'll find a way to open the door again. But this is Sony and Marvel telling the fans, get used to this. We tried to do this last year. Y'all got mad, so we renewed the contract. But Spider-Man is going back 100% to Sony and not being related to
Sony. Owns the film
producing rights.
Disney owns merchandising, and ultimately
they can make TV shows. And
Sony is basically like leasing the rights for the films from Disney. No, so
they're leasing their character back to Disney temporarily. It's a shared thing. Like Kevin Feige is a producer, but everything that he did for those solo Spider-Man movies, Sony had to agree with it. Of course, Sony was going to let Kevin Feige do whatever he wanted to do, but ultimately, Sony had to say, "Oh yeah, we'll let you make Vulture the main villain in the first one."
Sony owned it first in 1999, and then 2009, Disney bought it back purchased Marvel, and then 100% bought Spider-Man back. And
where are you reading that at?
USA Today.
When Sony bought the film rights to Spider-Man back in the 90s, that was when Marvel was in a lot of debt and a lot of trouble. They sold a lot of their characters off, but they never sold Iron Man, Captain America, and all those other characters. They kept those, and then they launched their own studio and they got successful. But Sony never gave, and a lot of the other characters that they sold off came back to Marvel. Sony never let Spider-Man come back. They won't. They never will. They never will. The agreement is you have to be in production of a new Spider-Man movie every maybe a year and a half or 2 years or whatever the agreement is. But if you don't do a new Spider-Man movie within that time frame, then the rights default back to to Marvel. But Sony's never. That's why they rebooted it so many times. That's what I'm saying.
So ultimately, Marvel owns Spider-Man, but Sony has an agreement with Marvel, which is Disney.
Marvel owns Spider-Man, but Sony owns the
Sony film. Is leasing it.
No, Sony owns the film. Sony owns the rights to make a Spider-Man movie. So,
but they're like leasing the ownership of the characters in order to make a movie every so often. But if they stop within the franchise of making movies every so often, it defaults back to Disney Marvel.
Right.
So ultimately, Disney is the ultimate owner who's leasing the film rights to Sony per their agreement, but Disney also owns the merchandising. Okay.
They own the merchandise. They can make a TV show. They can make T-shirts. They can make comic books. They can make everything else. But if Spider-Man is going to appear in a movie, Sony has to be involved in it, and definitely has to sign off on it. Which is what they temporarily agreed to do this merger. But yeah, get used to it, guys. Spider-Man's going back 100% back to Sony and without MCU help. So I think this is all just a setup for us to slowly get used to it. That's this whole Spider-Verse thing. But all right, moving on to the next one real quick. Based on that question that I posted on the community tab, and if you guys are watching the community tab, thank you guys for answering questions and voting. For the question, what film will you be watching this week in theaters? You already did this one. That was the same one. I'm sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
What was the next one? Number 4. From Johnny3432. No Time to Die. I will be waiting for this. I've been waiting for this for a while. And he talks about, and Mecha Random 42. That's a YouTuber, can eat it. Yeah, she sucks. But I am also looking forward to Venom, considering the post-credit scene that supposedly is like amazing. And if you don't know it, guys, it was. No Time to Die. It's not making as much money in the North America as it is overseas. I'm not interested in. I hadn't watched the last one. So I don't know if I'm going to watch this one. I've kind of lost interest in James Bond. What about you?
I'll watch it.
You'll watch it?
But I mean, it makes more sense that it's doing better overseas. I mean, it's James Bond. It's an international character.
International man of mystery.
For reals.
I see what I did wrong. I kind of messed up the order of what I was. BT
Dubs.
Mm-hmm.
Does the chat box work? Because I'm looking at it, it says learn more.
It does. I don't know who's on the chat box. But yeah, that's a link to the actual chat box. I don't know who's watching live or if there's anybody watching live. Let me double check. Holy crap, you're right. People have been chatting like crazy.
Yeah.
And I've been missing it. You are 100% right, Tom Holland. Hey, the movie Gonk. I'm sorry about that, brother. I did not see you there for a second. I messed up the chat box there. What did I do wrong?
I'm frozen now.
Oh, yeah, because when I minimized the screen, I didn't realize I did something with the chat. What the heck did I do wrong with the chat box? There we go. Let me
I mean, you could have at least frozen me in a cute position.
There it is. The chat. Hey, I'm sorry about that. Real quick. Perp minded. The movie Gonk. Tom Holland will not be Spider-Man in any Sony only Spider-Man films. He is Spider-Man. What are you talking about? He is Spider-Man.
Yeah, he's Spider-Man right now.
Let's see. Sony owns the character. Marvel/Disney only has distribution rights. Sony owns the character. Marvel/Disney only has.
Well, what I just read ultimately Disney Marvel own it.
No, Sony has the distribution rights. They are only. This is a joint venture. They are lending the character back to the MCU. And in a joint agreement. This is temporarily. But if Sony didn't want to do this, then no, MCU wouldn't be able to do it. Disney does not have distribution rights. They are producing it. Sony distributes it. That's the rights that when I say that Spider-Man, Sony owns the film rights to Spider-Man. That's distribution. That you cannot put put Spider-Man on the big screen unless Sony is distributing it out there. So you have that backwards. Sony owns the distribution rights, just like Universal owns.
Sony does have the film rights. Yeah. He's right.
Just like Universal,
they don't own it as much as it's a contract that they're basically leasing it.
Similar. And a movie Gonk, he mentions this I was just about to bring this up. Similar to the Hulk, is owned by another studio, Universal. Universal owns the distribution rights to Hulk, and for some stupid reason, they won't give it back. They don't have any plans on using it, but they know that Disney,
because they make money if they keep it.
Well, they make money if a Hulk movie is made, but that's why Disney will never make a. This is why Hulk was in Ragnarok, because if the agreement is if the character Hulk is in like more than 50% of the screen time, then it's technically a Hulk movie. But if he's only in like 30% of the screen time, it's only a team effort, Avengers, Ragnarok, for example, then they don't have to pay Universal. That's the agreement with that. Universal, give those rights back. That sucks. Last one from the movie Gonk, owned in terms of rights. But real quick, let's move on. Thanks, Sarah, for pointing out. I honestly thought that nobody was in the chat box, but you were like, no, that doesn't make sense. I appreciate that. Real quick, I
was like, what do we have to learn more about?
Yeah, right. One of the last thing that comes up was from Paul. I think we've already covered this. Let's move on real fast. Let's knock out the last two for We Got Your Vote. For We Got Your Vote, we have. What do I have? Come on, Chris, get it together. Last question came up was, which animated horror was the scariest? Tell us why in the comments. 27% three-way tie. Monster House, Caroline, Corpse Bride. All three got 27%. At 13%, it is Nightmare Before Christmas, which I thought that was gonna win. And at 7%, Paranorman. I've never seen Corpse Bride and I've never seen Paranorman. I have seen the others though, and I kind of agree with that. I love Monster House.
Isn't Paranorman like a Pixar movie?
Maybe, but I don't think so. Not Pixar, but it's one of those studios, like stop animation kind of a things, kind of like a Corpse Bride, like maybe a not MGM. What's that other? What's the one with the ET logo? From Shrek, the people who make Shrek and all that, from maybe from them, but definitely not Pixar. Last one for the night before we go, guys. No, I've been way over time. What country would you be interested in us doing a first time watching? I'm gonna do more first time watching. I've got one that's queued up that I need to edit and put up there. First time watching. What country? I realize that I've seen so many movies that it's hard for me to do a first time watching because I probably have already seen it. And I don't know if Sarah or anybody else is interested in doing first time watching because I'm asking you to commit 2 hours to watch a movie and record yourself watching the movie. So I've only asked myself to do it. But you've said that you will be okay with watching me watch movies from Europe at 45%. Said Europe. 28% said movies from Japan.
Europe has so many choices, though.
That's why I did it. I didn't want to just say Britain, so I said, okay. That's all I said.
I think you should watch French romantic cinema. I think you should pick very specific categories to torture you in.
You mean porn? Okay.
No.
Or 17% of you guys said movies from Korea, and 10% said India, and
Have you seen Amelie?
No.
See?
Would you guys be interested in a first time watching of Amelie? What would be a movie? What's a movie out there that everybody's seen and everybody's talked about that you haven't seen yet?
That I haven't seen?
That you haven't seen. Venom. Hey, how about that? Let's record Sarah doing a first time watching Venom.
Nah.
You might be.
I'll watch it.
I went into Venom thinking I was gonna hate it, and I was pleasantly surprised. I'm not.
You were very positive before you even got there.
No, that's Venom 2. I was positive. I don't know if you saw my review of Venom 2. The way I thought I was going to feel about Venom 1 turned out to be the way I felt about Venom 2. I thought I was going to hate Venom 1, and I turned out to love it. I thought I was going to love Venom 2, and I didn't like it so much. So it was kind of mixed on that. But all right, guys, that's the show. Every time I say that I'm going to make this a 30-minute show, it turns into a 2-hour show. Thank you for Sarah for helping me figure out that the chat box was lit, and I just didn't notice it. Sarah, if they want to find you online, where can they go and reach out to you?
It's right there. Sarah Katherine the Red on all channels.
And if you want to reach out to me, that is Chris Fagan. It's Chris W. Fagan. I'm on Twitter and all that stuff. But if you really want to reach out to me, hit me up at T3 Medias. That's the show, guys. I appreciate you as always. And until next time, peace.
Our supporters help make all this content possible, so make sure you check out our Patreon page so you can help us bring you the content you want.
Push the pedal to the freaking metal. I'm turned up just like heavy metal. Yo. Turned up on another level. Push the pedal to the freaking metal. I'm turned up just like heavy metal.